Ladies, gents, and NBs, you've just entered the Last Save Lounge, so pull up a chair, because you are in good company. The Last Save Lounge is a weekly interview show where we dig into the stories, memories, and moments behind our favorite games. It's all about the games that saved our progress and a little bit of us. I'm your host, Aaron TurboHoodie Amendola. I'm super happy that you're here. And today I'm joined by an old buddy of mine. We didn't do the Malbec. We didn't do the Pinot. We went with the Charlie Wine. Is that a bad joke, Charlie? It seems like a bad joke.
No, it's great. It's perfect because one, you knew how to pronounce my last name and I didn't have to. Every time I do an interview or something for work and they're like, how do you pronounce your last name? I make the joke of wine, like drunk on Charlie Wine. And they're always like, eh. So I appreciate it.
That's good. That's good. Charlie, before we dive in and get your favorite game of all time, can you give us like a little rundown, like who you are, what you do? I know that you do a lot of work here in the amazing city of Chicago, but we were talking before the show and you do a hell of a lot more than I thought you did. So what's going on?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Charlie Wine. I live in Chicago. I have lived here cumulatively about 15 years. And Aaron, I know you and I went to college together in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Moved back there for a year after undergrad and then came right back here. Couldn't do it. But yeah, so I live in, it's very hard to move back to a place like Pittsburgh after you've lived in Chicago. That is.
I say the same thing, same exact thing. It's just so much bigger and it's like, no, not at all.
But yeah, so I live in Andersonville. I work at the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce. I am the director of marketing and communications. It's so hard to describe what my job is because we are a small team of 4 and we all do everything. I handle the social media. I handle interviews, PR interviews. I'll do news segments around this with the different publications and news channels. But we all do everything. We work with the whole point of the chamber is to support small business owners, and the neighborhood. Andersonville's got a pretty great reputation. It's known as the shop local capital of Chicago. It's just such a cool, like little home, like small town pulled out of old time America or something. Just a very cool place, very great shopping, great food. So our whole goal is promoting the neighborhood, bringing people into shop, supporting the small business owners, and just, maintaining a really fun, inclusive, and comforting, welcoming place to be. A big part of that for any Chicagoans probably Andersonville Midsummer Fest, which is one of the first and biggest street festivals in Chicago in the summer. And we planned that. That is our chaotic, you have a kid, I have a street festival.
It's same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Mine has a 3-day tantrum though. I get to give it back and pass out. But yeah, so besides all the work I do at the chamber, which again, I can't even get into all of it. It involves so much things like working with the residents, keeping the neighborhood clean. We just got new trash cans installed. We had new murals done all over the neighborhood, which have a video game theme actually. And then I also on the side work with the Chicago International Film Festival. I am a big movie person as much as I am a big video game person, and I'm on their associate board. I help them with fundraising, do some events management. I also screen films for them.
But is there anything you're playing right now that you're really sinking your teeth into that you really like?
Yeah, I am so glad that you were going to ask me this question because I cannot stop talking about Cairn.
I just finished it.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it and I'm watching videos of it. I mean... For anyone not familiar, Cairn is a new indie game that just came out. It's sort of a narrative game, but also a very intense. I almost refer to it like a Souls-like.
It's like baby steps, but you're going up a mountain.
It's baby steps, but with a great narrative and a little. It's frustrating, but I think the way it's designed. So yeah, you're a mountain climber, Ava, who's a famous mountain climber, and she's left her partner, her wife, her cat, and her manager behind to go climb the tallest mountain in the world, Kami. And it has this incredible narrative. There's a lot about her, like the idea of why is she climbing this mountain, dealing with sort of her depressive state, getting messages from her family that she doesn't return. But you're controlling one limited time climbing this mountain and you have to find the crevices and the nooks and the crannies. And it's hard. It's also a survival game. You have to manage, hunger, thirst, temperature, everything. And it's one of those games where you have very few save points and it doesn't auto save. So you could fall off a wall and lose 45 minutes of progress. But as opposed to something like Elden Ring, though, when I lose 45 minutes of progress, I don't get upset about it because it means I can play Karen more. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm almost done. I'm at the end of the game and I'm having trouble finishing because I don't want to finish it. So I highly, highly, highly recommend Cairn. I mean, just what a phenomenal experience this has been. Just one of those games that has that incredible, unique gameplay, but also that emotional narrative to it that really keeps you engaged.
Wow. I'm so excited for you, especially because you're near the end. I finished it and I immediately let out like a long sigh. I was just like, ooh, this is done. And gosh, the way that it marries the mechanics of controlling one limb at a time to the concept of climbing a mountain, it's such an ingenious way to put the player in the mindset of Ava. Like you are really looking for those handholds. You are really trying to measure, do I need water right now? Do I need to up my temperature? Should I use my chalk? And you are really planning how you're going to get up the rest of the mountain with every handhold that you put on. So you're near the end, but there's a moment about a third of the way or maybe halfway up the mountain. You encounter an area known as the Temple of Wind, and I think I got stuck on that section for a week. And my buddy that was playing it, I kept being like, "Does it get more difficult from here? Like, what am I supposed to expect?" And once I got past that moment, there was a really nice cutscene. You get some character moments that are really beautiful. I love the way that they give you minimal information and you have to extrapolate from that. Like, even if she wasn't on the mountain, she's on the mountain at all times. But after that, I don't want to say it got easier, but I really felt like if I can do the Temple of Wind, I can do this, I can do that. And as somebody that really loves Elden Ring, but isn't good at it, I appreciate a game that has you learn through knowledge. The more you know, the better you get. It's the same way with Outer Wilds. The games that can really thread that needle of challenging but fulfilling, it's really great. I'd love to talk about the end with you when you finish it.
Yeah, I plan to finish it tonight, so I'll text you right after I'm done because
Man.
I'm gonna finish this game and then start it right back up again. Like I used to be a completionist. I'm not really anymore. I just don't have the time investment for it, except for Power Wash Simulator. Hell yeah, did I
Hell yeah, dude.
platinum that game. Second one was so good, but I'm going to platinum Cairn. I have to. It's just I will keep playing it. But yeah, so Cairn has definitely been the main thing on my mind. I actually went back and started playing. I borrowed a friend's Nintendo Wii, and I went back and started playing Metroid Prime 3
All right.
because I'm not going to play Prime 4, but I love Corruption. It's just such a phenomenal game, and so I started playing that and Twilight Princess again, which is my favorite Zelda. And I don't think there hasn't been a Zelda that I've loved since Twilight Princess, and they still haven't ported it over anywhere. So
Yeah, I mean, what a crazy decision. I feel similarly. Love Twilight Princess. Specifically, I love the art direction. That is the way I want a Zelda to look. But my wife is starting up Breath of the Wild on Switch 2, and it's crazy to see that game at a stable frame rate. I'm like, this isn't right. I really love those two games, the duology that are on the Switch systems. But we got to put some respect on Twilight Princess's name every now and then.
Well, I mean, I think I realized after I played Breath of the Wild, I didn't play Tears of the Kingdom, but I think I just realized I like Zelda when it's linear. I like
Yeah,
when it
I get it.
has I like when every environment and every dungeon is different. I like that
Mhm.
there's a water one and a fire one and Twilight Princess is the final game in the series to have truly differentiated landscapes and dungeons because
Skyward
Skyward
Sword
Sword
was
was a
not.
mess.
It's fine. Yeah.
But so I'm not an open world Zelda. Open world is not what I want out of my Zelda games. Out of other games, hell yeah, for sure. I love an open world, but I miss old time linear Zelda.
Yeah, man, we're old, and that's fine. That's fine. That's good. But as somebody that grew up with fond memories of Link's Awakening and like Twilight Princess and like I really love the new ones, but I also know I'm probably never going to play them again. But I would gladly jump back and play Twilight Princess. I replayed Link's Awakening on a trip to California a few years ago, and that's a game you can finish in like 3 days, like easily. I miss those types of games. after Karen, we definitely need to chat. But let's go into our midtro. I'll say all the things I have to say to get people to promote this show, and then we'll get into your favorite game of all time.
Sure.
So the Last Save Lounge is supported by Patreon at patreon.com/Hoodie Weather. By supporting Hoodie Weather, patrons get a bonus segment each week, a bundle of Hoodie Weather tabletop RPGs, and ad-free episodes in your feeds. Hey, if times are tough, I think you are too. You can always support the Last Save Lounge by rating and reviewing us on your podcast app of choice. I just saw 4 new reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. Thank you to everyone that reviewed us. It does help quite a bit. The show is doing well, but it doesn't do well unless you tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your rivals. I'll take care of them for you. Once again, that is patreon.com/Hoodie Weather. If you were one of the folks that intrepidly fast-forwarded through the midtro, welcome back. I'm here with Charlie Wein from the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce here in Chicago. And Charlie, you had told me your favorite game before we jumped on, and it's a game I wasn't familiar with. Can you tell us a little bit about your favorite game of all time?
Yeah, a lot of people are not familiar with it. So this is 1996, I believe. This is a old LucasArts SCUMM Engine game. It is called The Dig. It is, SCUMM Engine for anyone who, I feel like people that played things like Monkey Island know SCUMM Engine. Monkey Island's also a huge, my Instagram handle is a reference to the Monkey Island series. But SCUMM Engine, the classic point and click system from the old, I think it was actually a DOS game originally, but then one of the last ones. The Dig was a story originally conceived by Steven Spielberg for he had done a television remake or reboot sort of the sci-fi episodic show Amazing Stories. And The Dig, the story, was something he conceived, an idea he conceived. He conceptualized the story and then was just like, this wouldn't be possible to do on TV. It's too ambitious. Special effects are not good enough. It would be too expensive. It just can't be done. So he was obviously working with LucasArts or Lucasfilm and everything at the time, and ILM. And he gave this story to LucasArts, who were like, this would be an awesome video game. A lot of people haven't heard of it. It kind of had a difficult production. It had a couple different game leads over the course of its production. Some of its narrative got changed a little bit, but it is one of those just classic, absolutely beautiful, like hand-drawn landscapes.
It's so interesting to get sort of the history lesson behind it, because when you think of video games, you don't really think of Steven Spielberg. You don't necessarily think of ILM, but back then, with games like Out of This World and Flashback, there were a lot of people trying some visually avant-garde things. And looking at The Dig, immediately you see some of its contemporaries. Like you said, Monkey Island, I had put Full Throttle in there. Maniac Mansion definitely has similar vibes.
Well, the SCUMM Engine is named after Maniac Mansion, so
that makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry, did I play what?
Did you play this at release, or was this something you found later on?
Yeah. I probably played it closer to maybe a couple years after. So we were talking before the episode about sort of the emotional connection that we have to video games. And my oldest brother, Matt, would he had a friend who found just the most random video games out of nowhere, usually on like demo discs that would come out when you get a computer or some company releases
when
some
demo
kind of
discs
demo
were
discs.
a thing. Yeah.
Love demo discs, especially LucasArts ones, because there were things like Jedi Outcast. They premiered the Jedi Knight series on there. But I would sit down and watch my brother play these games. And then, I would literally sit next to him for hours while he's playing these games, figuring out all the puzzles and everything. So I watched him play it for a while before I eventually played it myself. And funny thing was, you would think because I watched him play it, I would know how to solve all these puzzles myself. But The Dig is a hard game. And it's like, now I can beat it in an hour, but it is a really hard game. And so I probably played it a few years after it came out. But yes, originally back on our old Windows 98, 95, 98 computer, there was that one. And I really had trouble picking my favorite game. The Dig was the one where I was like, this is probably my favorite game. But he also played a game called The Neverhood. Do you know The Neverhood?
Why do I feel like I've like clicked on it in a Wikipedia rabbit hole, but I
Yeah.
definitely never played it.
So DreamWorks, this was a DreamWorks video game when they were trying to break into gaming on their side. It is an entirely claymation, sort of weird, just crazy, cartoony type story. But I'm not going to get too far into the Neverhood. But the Dig and the Neverhood were two of the main games I remember sitting there watching him play. Another great point and click puzzle game with both of them have incredible soundtracks. The Dig had one of the things when it came out, I think a lot of people didn't really understand what to do with it. And it's also very hard. A lot of reviews, if you look back, are complain about the difficulty of the puzzles, but unanimously they're like, the score is fucking incredible. Can I swear on here?
Yeah, why the fuck
Okay.
not?
So it was just one of those games where it had some production troubles, but every aspect of it comes together to create what is truly, I think, one of the most cinematic experiences I've ever had, and one of the most epic, grand, still dark, just imaginative, fantastical experiences I've ever seen in a video game. Like, I want it to be a movie. Like, I want Denis Villeneuve to make this movie. I think he's the, after Dune and Blade Runner 2049, like, the only person I could see getting this movie right would be Denis Villeneuve. But also Robert Patrick is the voice of the main character.
What a get for a video game in the early 90s.
Yeah. Stephen Bloom. There's three main characters. Stephen Bloom is another voice actor for any anime fans. They know Stephen Bloom, Samurai Champloo, Full Metal Alchemist, literally hundreds of anime. So it was a game that, again, troubled production, such an ambitious idea. And they really wanted to get this out and make it good and have it be successful. And it actually financially was very successful in terms of the money it made. It wasn't as successful as LucasArts wanted it to be. Like the overarching parent company was like, this game needs to make this much money. And it made a shit ton of money for its production cost, but they just didn't see it that way.
Man, ain't that always the way? It made money, but it didn't make us enough. It's like, come on, man, just make it because you want to make it.
Yeah. So anyone who loves sci-fi stories, sort of dark, mysterious narratives, really hard puzzles.
What I'm kind of noticing, really difficult puzzles, interesting environments. What you're describing is Cairn, and you're also describing blueprints. So like you clearly have a flavor. Like, do you feel like this sort of game kind of opened up an avenue for you to get into these point and click games? Like it seems like this was the first one in that genre. Am I right?
Yeah. And I mean, Maniac Mansion had come out a couple years earlier and sort of is what solidified the SCUMM Engine as like a system of the 90s, that type of game of the 90s. I think I've always had, especially with movies, I've always had a very, very keen interest in sort of dark mystery. I like drama. I mean, hell, we went to theater school, drama's in our blood, but I like dark drama. I like mystery. I like the idea of being thrown into a world and knowing nothing about it and having to figure it out. And I think The Dig is the ultimate version of that. You're thrown into this situation, this literally extraterrestrial situation, this alien situation. You don't know how to read anything. You don't know you can only gather clues from images that may kind of make sense, but don't totally make sense. You just have to look around the screen and see if you can find something that, shape wise relates to another clue or another thing you've seen. Don't read a book. Don't read the novelization. It's not a very good novelization.
Well, and I saw that Alan Scott Card did the novelization.
Orson Scott Card. Orson Scott Card did the dialogue in the game. Alan Dean Foster did the novelization, and he's known for sci-fi movie novelizations. The novelization of The Dig is so terrible. It puts the perspective of the story into a different character, and it just doesn't work. There's so many incredible twists and reveals in The Dig, story-wise, and the book reveals them all at the beginning.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, it's so I'm going to play it again once we're off. I texted you. I started playing it again the other day. It's on Steam. Very cheap. I think it comes in like a SCUMM Engine pack for like $5. That's like the Indiana Jones ones, Loom, Dig. I mean, I highly recommend anyone from the 90s pick it up and go, or anyone come pick it up and go back.
So, man, and as somebody that bought it and then just wasn't able to play it yet, I'm getting like notes of The Arrival, that old Charlie Sheen movie from the 90s, but like You've tried to tell us a little bit about what this is. Can you give us a little rundown?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you sort of the basic premise is
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
enough. So it's short depending on how quickly you do the puzzles. But sci-fi story, there's an asteroid hurtling towards Earth. There is a 100% chance this asteroid is going to destroy Earth. So they have to send a team of astronauts. So Robert Patrick is the team leader, Stephen Bloom is an archaeologist, and then Maggie Rogers is a news reporter. But she's also an expert in languages. So everyone's like, why are they sending her up? But they're sent to nuke the asteroid, not to destroy it, so that because they don't want pieces to fall everywhere, but to put it in a safe orbit above Earth and then explore it. When they nuke it, they discover it's hollow. And let's just say the asteroid turns out to be something they didn't expect it to be. And they find themselves in another place very, very far away with no knowledge of where they are, a completely foreign extraterrestrial planet. I'm going to spoil that part of it. It happens in the first 5 minutes of the
That's
game.
fine.
The
You're
asteroid,
spoiling things for a game that's 30 years old. We're
yeah,
going to get
yeah.
over it.
It's the asteroid turns out to be a starship, or they call it a crystal ship, that hurtles them to another part of the galaxy or universe where they don't really know, and lands on this planet that is a single island surrounded by 5 spires in the middle of a planet covered in water. And they have to figure out how to get out of there. There's remnants of an old, long dead civilization. And then that's it. From there, you have like a shovel, you have a flashlight, and you just gotta figure out how to get home from there. And it's just so gorgeous. Like, I mean, the landscapes are all beautifully drawn. There's incredible water animations, storms in the distance in the background, beautiful music. It's just incredible. So good.
So
Highly, highly, highly recommend.
that is a really good tease, especially the planet covered in water and all the spires. Now I'm like, well, I got a Steam Deck. I might as well pour 5 hours into this, maybe with a walkthrough, because I can't bang my head against a wall right
Yeah,
now.
I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help.
All right, cool. I'll
I
have you
know
as my
them.
Nintendo help
Yeah.
speed dial.
I know them all. I know all the puzzles at this point by heart, but I still go back and play it every year. Usually, again, I can beat it in an hour and a half, but I will still go back and play it to listen to all the dialogue, follow the story, hear the music, and the nostalgia of it, of course. But
I love that you go back and play it every year, because that's um, something that I do. Is I love to go back and play Resident Evil 2, just because I can go through it with the infinite rocket launcher. I know everything to do, and it's not scary anymore. It's more like, oh, I get to tour this place I loved as a kid. But going back to the dig, hearing the dialogue, hearing the music, being in this familiar setting, that can be really therapeutic.
yeah,
I love that.
I go back to old games for story. The other game that was a toss up for best game is actually 4 games. It's the PlayStation 2 Dot Hack series. I don't know if you're familiar
Man,
with them. So I have all of them. I have all 4 of them. And the 4th one, Quarantine, goes for a pretty penny on eBay. I will admit to spending about $150 on this one game in a little bit of a wine induced
that's fine.
decision making. But these 4 games, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine, are just one of the best game series I've ever played. They've never been ported. They've never been remastered. There was a sequel series to it on PS2 that's fun that I've also played, but is a little just not the same. But yeah, those were the other ones. I go back to those 4, and I play through all 4 games. I go back to those for the story and the emotional impact I had playing them the first time.
I finished RE2 the other day, and I immediately booted up RE3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once you're in that flow, you can't really break away from it. I want to jump back to something you said earlier in the show,
Sure.
which is you watched your brother and your brother's friend, who was providing these games, play through the game, and you discovered these puzzles are not as easy as you thought, which 2 things. One, it's great to have older brothers do that for you. That's what they're there for. They should be showing you things that are just like a little too old for you at that moment. But the idea of watching him do these puzzles, the idea of sitting next to him, kind of being basked in the glow of the screen. Why do you think you weren't able to pick up those puzzles just from watching him? Is it?
Yeah. I mean, part of it is that a lot of the puzzles in the dig are very visually based, where you don't, I mean, everything's visually based,
Sure,
but
sure.
they're not self-explanatory. It's a lot of trial and error. Like, I'm thinking of one puzzle in particular that's just a series of color buttons on a platform. It doesn't tell you what you have to do. It doesn't tell you what each of the buttons does. You really have to figure out the entire process of it by yourself. So, you hit a series of colored buttons to make something do something else, but each button, you don't know what that button does until you've tested it. And then once you've figured out how the system works, then it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this system? So part of it is that even when I replay the game, I don't remember which color buttons immediately off the top of my head I'm supposed to hit. I still have to trial and error that puzzle because it's not an obvious self-explanatory one. There's a little bit of procedural generation with some of the puzzles in terms of certain things are supposed to be lined up. There's certain little things that change every time you play. There's a lot of, okay, so the first time I played this game, I did this thing, and I got this response, I solved it that way. When I went to go play it again, doing those two things didn't actually work. There was something else that was wrong that wasn't wrong in the first time I played it. So there's actually a little bit of procedural randomness or generation in terms of how the puzzles change. Also, though, when I would watch him play it, I wasn't really paying attention or at least observing the narrative of the game and the environment around the game. Because like I said, you're on this planet that is this long dead civilization, and there's symbols and hieroglyphics and stories, projections, things that kind of give you clues. But a lot of the puzzle solutions are built into the visual history of the civilization that existed on the planet. So I could watch him do something, but I didn't understand the narrative behind it. Why is he doing that thing? What led him to do that thing? So I had a general sense of where to go. It's like a no spoilers walkthrough, essentially, that I had in my head. I was like, I know this is the spire I have to be at.
But you didn't have the
next.
context for any of those actions.
Right. I also didn't understand when he played what the result of those actions he was taking was. I saw this puzzle happen. Maybe I saw this thing light up, but I didn't understand when he did it what that thing lighting up represents and how that is affecting the next puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It has its missed aspects to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can see that already.
Yeah. So a lot of trial and error. So it was great to kind of have that no spoiler walkthrough of it, just a little bit of familiarity. But it really was me trying to figure everything out on my own, from scratch.
I love that you have this memory of playing this game with your brother, because the game I played with my brother was John Madden 93 on the Sega Genesis.
We played that too, don't get me wrong.
And he just whooped my ass. He was like, I'm not going to make this easy for you. I wish I had that experience. And a lot of the guests on the show have had experiences with their siblings, whether that is watching, whether that's one sibling doing the puzzles and the other sibling doing the combat. I love that there's a very familial vibe to these games that we love. And to bring it back to Zelda, I hear a lot of people take that experience with Zelda. I've never heard anyone do that with the SCUMM Engine game. And I'm just thinking with Zelda, there is so much visual feedback. You hit a Stalfos, you can see it blocked or you can see it got hit and you know what to do. But with a point and click game, that seems wild. Are there any other like feelings or memories that you associate with playing this game with your brother?
Yeah, I think part of it is it not at the time that I was watching him play it, but looking back on that, the Neverhood, because I also watched him play that one. I realized later when I went back and replayed those games how smart my brother actually is.
In the time before the internet, yeah,
because my brother's a writer too, so and he's a very good writer. But yeah, he couldn't go online and look up the answers. He had a friend who maybe knew some of the answers and might help if he was stuck or something, but he couldn't go online and look up these answers. So that definitely was like I didn't know it at the time, but a bonding experience. I also think it really solidified, because I have two brothers, and it really solidified sort of the shared interests that I have with my oldest brother. Again, it's a sci-fi story. It's a dark sci-fi story. It's a mystery. It's a intense narrative. It's not a visual novel by any means, but I wish there was a good book of it, or I wish there was a real good movie of it. Come on, Denis Villeneuve. If you listen to this podcast, please find the dig, play it, make the movie.
If we could get him to listen to it, I have a lot of questions for him for other things, but also like, come on, Denny, hop on Spotify, leave us the iTunes review.
Yeah, I mean, if he makes the dig, I will not ask him a single question about any other movie. I just need someone to make the movie and make it good because you can do it. It could be two movies, frankly, but just one movie. Just give me a good version of the dig. But yeah. So I think it kind of really hit home for me in terms of the connection I had because I was very disconnected from a lot of my family when I was younger. I was younger than my brothers than they were from each other. There was a bigger age gap between me and them. I was the theater kid. No one else, and the rest of my family wasn't. My mom was a theater person, but like it's a it can be a very isolating thing when you don't have that same thing throughout the rest of your siblings or your
Yeah.
family. So that was a very something that really made me recognize the connection that he and I do have in terms of our sort of right brain thought processes, but also the our imaginations and the way that we want to see so much further outside of the world we live in every day. Like
Yeah.
he turned me on to fantasy, turned me on to sci-fi. It was the real discovery of my nerddom was watching him play the dig for sure.
That like unlocked a memory for me. So hearing about that sort of isolation within the family, my brother is 18 years older than me. Like he could be my dad. And I didn't know him a ton growing up, aside from him absolutely kicking my ass in John Madden football on the Sega Genesis. But I remember he was the one to show me Blade Runner for the first time. And there was something about having a piece of media given to him or given to me from him that I immediately was like, this is Christian's thing. This is the thing he wanted me to see. This is his way of reaching out. And the rest of my family, or at least my dad, they were very supportive of the things that I wanted to do, but they weren't interested in sci-fi. They didn't care about fantasy. My dad would not watch anything if it was like a spaceship, an alien, anything like that. And it was just the lack of trying. It's like, this is really important to me. And like, why don't you watch me play Final Fantasy VI? You're just going to sit in the lazy boy anyway. But I would love just to have somebody sitting in the room, having that parallel play happen. So hearing these stories just really warms my heart.
I think especially at a time when finding indie games was you didn't do it, There was no magazine to tell you about, hey, check out well, eventually there were, but they weren't really well followed or,
Hmm.
but like and even when I did get Game Informer and Electronic Gaming Monthly, they weren't doing sections on indie games. The indie game world
No.
didn't really exist at that time. So, my very first video game was Castlevania on NES. Wonderful game. Great. Also had all the Sonics on Sega Genesis. Altered Beast was what I guess on a main console is what you could consider an indie game because it was just a smaller, weirder game. But this, opened the dig was the first thing that opened me up to the idea that games were far more than just a video game. It was art, it was story, it was narrative, it was beyond.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that, man. And you can tell that it was art because one, Spielberg doesn't really half-ass anything, but also to have the Alan Dean Fosters, the Orson Scott Cards behind them to really beef up the quality. These were people that understood that games could be narratively competitive with a movie, with a book. And it really puts you in that driver's seat instead of being passive with books or movies, which there are stories that work better for that. But if you are the one solving the puzzles, if you are the one discovering what is in this asteroid, it means so much more than watching it play out. And as somebody that went to school for theater, you and me both, there is something about the empathy you have when you are the one doing those actions, when you are forced to be the protagonist. I see a very clear through line between you playing this game, you in college, and like where you're at now.
Yeah. And I mean, Spielberg besides, and, I'm not a supporter of Orson Scott Card as a person, but the guy
No, no,
knows
no,
how
no, not
to,
at all.
the guy, he's just, sci-fi dialogue. There's hardly was someone better at that point. But for any nerds or movie people or game people that are listening to this, ILM was so passionate about making this game, which at the time, ILM had just, I mean, like The Abyss had just come out not 10 years before. They'd cracked like hardcore facial recognition, CGI. I mean, they were on the cut. This is the point of the cutting edge of CG and of CGI. And for ILM for them to create a games division of LucasArts and actually have a company like ILM working on this game, like there's a lot of other shit they could have been working on, and they were working on, but they were top of the game. They were top of the line, like, innovating with these kinds of computer graphics. And if they're going to dedicate time to this small little video game that wasn't intended to be small, but obviously, from it wasn't a $500 million Grand Theft Auto 6, or which is
They don't all need to be
more than that. But just to know a company like ILM had a hand in this, that's reason enough for anyone who's familiar with the work to, especially from around the 80s and 90s, the things they were doing to try this out, to take a look at it. I mean, I guarantee you, even if you don't like the game, even if you don't enjoy the puzzles or it's frustrating or whatnot, you are not going to be able to deny how beautiful it is and how, like, innovative it is from a visual standpoint, graphically. That's enough for me from, just why wouldn't you try this game at this point? It's also like $3. So
yeah, it's less than a cup of coffee. Charlie, that's a really, I just want to thank you for bringing that game, because I know how much it means to you. I've already got it on my Steam library. This is really pushing me to play it, at least try to play it before the new Resident Evil comes out, because it's the next big event on my calendar. Once that happens, I'm a ghost. But also, thanks for sharing. This was really nice. This was a great discussion. Really, really enjoyed it. Charlie,
I agree with Resident Evil, though I need them to make the VR port of it, because I will be the first one to say VR is the way to play Resident Evil 8. It is an entirely different experience. 4 as well. 7 is really scary on it, but there's no better way to play Resident Evil than in VR. I'll leave it at that.
I tried it once. I played a little bit of 7 in VR, and I was like, oh, I'm never doing this again.
Cool. Just reloading in 8 when VR is so fucking crazy. And how do you say her name? I never remember how to say her name.
Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah. When she's chasing you around the fucking mansion in first person, oh my God. It's so crazy.
Too spooky.
But anyway,
spooky for me.
It is really scary. It is really scary.
Okay, for the Patreon subscribers, you're going to hear our post-show question after the outro. But before we go, Charlie, where can we find you online if you want to be found online?
Yes, find me. So Instagram is probably my main go-to. My handle on Instagram is look a three-headed monkey with the number 3. I try and use that handle for anything I can do except when it doesn't fit. So that's probably the first place I'd say. The other place is Letterboxd. So you can probably just search my name, Charlie Wein. Otherwise, my handle's Charles P. Charles, which is not my first name and last name. It's just what my mom used to call me growing up. I think she pulled it from, which one was Michael J. Fox in? Growing Pains or Family Ties? I think Family Ties.
I think that was Family Ties.
Yeah, so he used to introduce himself as Alex P. Keaton, and he made that up on the spot. So I think she had that in her brain and would call me Charles P. Charles. My middle name does not start with a P either. Anyway, but also for anyone, maybe Aaron, is there a letterbox for video games? Because I would love for there to be a letterbox for video games.
I use a site, you asked the right question. There's a few, and a lot of them have like some features. The one that I think is the most fully fleshed out is called Backlogged, BACKLOGGD.com. I'm TurboHoodie on there.
It's not an app, it's just a website?
It's a website. There's a web version. I wish there was an app. It's made by one guy. He has a Patreon. It's a nice way for me to catalog what I've played, because as I get to the end of the year and do Game of the Year stuff, sometimes it's hard for me to remember everything I played. I'm sure you feel the same with Letterboxd. But yeah, I use Backlogged. There's a few other ones that I've experimented with, but Backlogged has been the one that feels the most robust aside from the app. But
it looks like Letterboxd, so
totally.
Great, awesome. That's good to know. I would love for there to be there's a dating app for gamers now. You think there'd be a social, review sharing and diary app, but anyway.
One of these days. Letterboxd started in 2011, 2012, and it feels like it reached massive adoption a few years ago. So hopefully Backlogged gets that, but I can speak from experience. I'm in their Discord. The guy seems like a nice guy. He's very progressive, forward thinking. So yeah, I tend to support that one. And if you, dear listener, are wondering, should I get on Backlogged? It's fun. It's just a nice way for you to catalog your own games your way. I used to have a giant Google Sheets spreadsheet, and eventually I went insane. So Backlogged has definitely relieved a headache or two for me.
Well, for anyone who's going to join Backlogged, I'm going to sign up today. So look for the moniker, Look a Three-Headed Monkey. Oh no, it's too long. It can only be Look a Three-Headed Monk.
Well, I mean, that's also pretty good, but it's entirely different.
I might have to use my backup. My backup, if you want to find me on PlayStation, PSN, it is the Icarus 1. It is the word the _ Icarus and then the number 1. It's from my favorite movie, Sunshine, Danny Boyle. That is the other place I'd say you can find me.
I'm glad to think about a movie with a wild third act as we're in the third act of this podcast. Folks, thank you so much for listening to Last Save Lounge. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. We've been getting a lot of support as of late. That's awesome. It's just really cool to see people talking about the games they loved, being in a vulnerable spot, because this is a hobby that the more people that we can get in, the more it's going to grow. And gosh, it'd be nice to see some growth in the gaming hobby right now. The Last Save Lounge is produced by Hoodie Weather, creating comfy games and podcasts broken in like your favorite hoodie. You can support Hoodie Weather by heading to patreon.com/hoodieweather and becoming a Patreon supporter for just $1. Charlie, thank you so much, and we'll stick around for the Patreon question.
Thank you so much. This was a blast.